Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Talk with Lee, episode 7. Today, we have a very, very, very special guest and possibly the closing guest of the year 2024. You can call him March, you can call him Elephant, but don't call him late for dinner. Ladies and gentlemen, we have March Elephant.
How's it going? Binge, thank you so much for having me on. You and I were kind of chatting about this. I've not done many of these. This is, I think, the second one that I've ever done. And, our conversations and the behind the scenes and getting this all set up was really exciting. And I'm really excited for some of the topics we're going to get into.
I'm really excited as well. And I'm honored that you decided to even be on because, as we've discussed, this isn't something you usually do. So I hope to make this experience be, a memorable one, but in a good way.
It's already been a lot of fun, kind of talking about the topics that we were planning on getting into and our ideas and bouncing them off each other. So I'm pretty excited to hop into this.
And welcome to everybody from March's community. Lovely guy. Just as a heads up for Talk with Lee, alerts are off, raids are off. I do interact with chat depending on the questions, but it's mostly focused on this man over here. So just as a heads up for those of you who aren't familiar with the series. But we did spend a good amount of time before stream trying to figure out this whole stream together thing, and I gotta say, I thought it was
so
gonna be
difficult.
I thought it was gonna be easy, but it wasn't. No.
I think part of it was just like the differences between our streaming setups and the way that you do audio versus I do audio versus the different cameras and those setups. So that was more challenging than I expected, but I'd love to do it sometime. Well, maybe for our year follow up, we'll figure it out finally.
There you go. All right. Being one of the first 10 guests, I decided this question or this topic is something I want to discuss for every first of the top 10, right? I might not do this all the time, but the first top 10, I want to ask this question. Specifically the content creators, right? Marsh, tell me about how you started. Tell me about you in general. Who are you? And with your busy schedule, with your busy life, why did you decide, I want to do streaming? Because let's be fair, streaming is not something you just can do an hour a day. Like there's stuff you do on stream, and the stream can be 4 to 5 hours. There's stuff you do off stream with your community, advertising, branding, whatever it may be. Why did you decide this was a good use of your time?
Well, I started kind of in the midst of COVID. It was 2020, end of 2020, and I'd been spending the last, 4 or 5 months playing Call of Duty with my brother and friends. And I'd gotten to this point where I was like, A, I suck at this game, and B, I'm tired. I really wanted to get back to those RPG games. And so it was one of the best times of my life playing some of these games. And I remembered recently, at that point, I had recently played games out of college with some friends of mine. And I still remember getting the PlayStation 4 Fallout 4 bundle package and playing that until literally the sun came up with one of my best friends. And that was such an enjoyable experience. It was like, how do I replicate that? Well, I'm not meeting people in person. I'm not going, I'm not having people over to play games. What about streaming? And I just started watching Twitch too. I was maybe 3 months into being a viewer or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, okay, streaming because I want to share the experience of RPG games isn't a foundation that I want to base this endeavor on. Like I look at this as being a long-term commitment. And I was like, where do I find where would I find value on this platform? And finding a community that I felt seen, felt heard, felt supported was something that I was looking for. And I thought, why don't I try and build something like that? I was probably going to fail. I thought that, kind of day one and felt like it was just a big mountain to climb, but I was at least going to try. And I kind of just started, and I started in November of 2020, and I don't remember what my schedule was back then. I don't even remember if I had a schedule. And I think in February I received affiliate, and I was pretty happy with that. And,
nice.
And that was when it was like, oh, this is actually real. Like this is serious, and it kind of snowballed and exploded from there, which was a lot of fun. I was streaming under a completely different username at that time. I was that gamer Steve, and I had no sense of branding or anything like that. When I hit that affiliate ship, I go, what what do I do now? Like, what, how do I make that gamer Steve a brand? And I kept struggling to figure something out. And we'll talk about this in one of our later questions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I decided to, make this elephant themed channel. And part of that is because of their sense of community, their sense of support, which was a factor of why I started. And
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of came this full circle, which I thought was a really cool, subplot, sub element.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like you were part of the what I kind of like to call the big boom in 2020 after COVID. Everybody was at home. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
just started streaming that year, 2020, 2021. So that's pretty cool. I wish I started streaming at that point because I've been streaming for 2 years, and when you mentioned branding, figuring out schedules and stuff, that's something I still struggle with. Because
It's tough.
the whole theme here is pirates and Benji's ship, right? Because I love One Piece, that's my whole thing. But I don't want my whole thing to just be that One Piece guy. You know what I mean?
That was the other thing, as
Hmm.
I never wanted my brand to be based off of something else. I wanted it to
Exactly.
be completely new, right? Now there's no brand loyalty that somebody might go, oh, I like that brand as well. I like this person. I'm gonna give that another chance. It was I'm starting fresh, starting clean. I'm creating this whole thing on my own,
Hmm.
which has its challenges, but I think it creates a um, stronger sense of recognition going forward.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned growing on Twitch and you hit affiliate and you're like, oh, like that. You got that feeling of this. Something's happening. This isn't just purely funsies, right?
Right.
Well, as you were growing, obviously growth is one thing. Maintaining it is a whole other ball game, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever have that conversation with yourself of how do I got a lot of new people and I want to maintain that growth, I want to build a community. Obviously, I don't think anyone really goes into it thinking I want to have this type of community because a lot of communities just kind of tend to form themselves. But what kind of conversations did you have with yourself when you were thinking about maintaining it, thinking about pushing it forward, the structure of what your community may look like as it was growing?
Yeah, look, being online, being a content creator, you're always evolving, right? You have to evolve with what's changing, how you want your community to continue to go forward. And I think my community day one is
Mm-hmm.
very different than what it is today. I'm trying to think back on like the first streams I did from my PlayStation 4, where I had 2 or 3 viewers, people that I'd known. I'm trying to remember like what were those conversations like, and I have a hard time recalling 4 years ago now. It's crazy to think how far ago that was, but or how long ago that was.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wanted to create something that was hyper interactive, um, community focused, and personally engaging. And I have a very I tend to think I have a very good memory about how um, like people's names and what they have going on, and I could recall things pretty well with folks. And so I wanted to capitalize on that strength of mine, and knowing, um, okay, so and so had this event going on, and I can recall that. As time's gone on and the community's got larger, it's harder and harder to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But building that community focus, that hyper interactivity was my way of making, or helping the community grow. Right, give people something that they wanted to engage in actively and participate in, and feel as if they were as much a part of it as I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really important thing, kind of going back to that sense of community and support that was the basis and the foundation of why I started streaming. So I again leaned on those early principles that I had used as the groundwork for content creation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the community. That's not something I went into streaming thinking of. Because when I was thinking of streaming, and talk about this all the time on the channel, but I wanted to do filmmaking. I still want to do filmmaking. I'm in college for other stuff, but filmmaking is not a guaranteed thing, so I still want to have a degree on me, right?
Hmm.
But with filmmaking, I had a couple options. I was thinking I can either go through a studio, but I want to write and direct. Writing, submitting your script to a studio, that's a whole ball game. They might take the ownership of the script. They can change it however they want just to get the funding.
Right.
The other option was independently make it. Well, how do I get the money? I was thinking maybe I can do like a corridor crew or something like that, right? Where I make content on Twitch or YouTube and somehow support filmmaking through that. Well, 2 years have passed and that's no longer the goal. Like I still want to do that on, like, I still want to make film, but content
Yeah.
creation has become something else for me. It's become something that, I have a community. Oh, like, what really, the first time it hit me was when I made the Discord. I saw people talking and I was like, they're talking without me being there, because usually people
Right.
join to talk to the streamer. I'm like, oh, they're on VC by themselves. They have their own little memes of me. You know what I mean? And
Well,
it's
look,
funny.
we've got multiple memes about
Hmm.
me, and one time, just to kind of do a quick tangent,
Yeah, let me hear that.
I was wearing a shark outfit, a shark onesie, and
Oh my
there
goodness.
may or may not have been a couple of drinks involved, and I may or may not have twerked on stream, and it became short. And so now there's a full-on emo. Now we have short trains. Now there's like literal hype train videos happening of me in this shark onesie, moving the tail in a circular. We'll just leave it at that, all right? And so the community is. I think, to me, that is one of the greatest parts of it, though, right? Like,
Hmm.
I do something silly, and they take it and absolutely run with it, and
Hmm.
I think that's cool. I think, like, there's not a lot of spaces where people can have that kind of interconnectiveness and use you and I as a catalyst for joy or
Hmm.
for I, lighthearted mockery, which I fully encourage, right?
Hmm.
Like, sometimes I am the brunt of the joke, and I'm very happy to laugh at myself, right? If you take life too seriously, it's going to be a very dull situation.
Hmm.
So like you said, building that community, building that space for people to meme on you, or to be able to chat with each other, build these connections that aren't solely dependent on you in a Discord or on YouTube comments, or whatever it might be. One of my favorite things, Binge, is going to fellow community members who stream and seeing other community members that I've known for a very long time, and seeing them interacting, seeing them finding a space that they realize this is a space that I feel seen, heard, and I'm happy to be a part of. That brings me so much joy. If I had 0 viewers, but everyone that I saw was chatting and hanging out with each other, like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'd probably be sad, but I would be happy at the same time, because I know that those people found a space that they were extremely happy in, and
Yeah.
that's the whole that's one of the biggest goals, right?
No, it's
Finding your
amazing.
own happiness.
It's amazing. No, I like that you mentioned that. Seeing like your viewers and other streamers you watch, like you see them in their chat talking, forming that community in other spaces, and you're like, wow, we really connected. I brought their viewers, their viewers came here, and we share a culture, and you
Yeah,
almost form like a little circle. It's not
the
necessarily like a
craziest thing is,
team
I
or
don't I
anything.
don't think of it as other spaces either. Like,
Hmm.
I know what you mean, but I
Yeah.
don't. It's like Venn diagram on Venn diagram on Venn diagram, right? Like, there's so many overlapping elements and layers
Hmm.
to it, and I found with like with the Rat Pack. So the stream team that I'm on, hosted by WakeyX, is I've been a part of a couple of stream teams over the years. I was part of Stone Mountain's Pipeline stream team. Initially, I did subscribe to that for the first year, and use that as kind of like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to invest in this. I want to make this something that can grow and be a serious thing.
Hmm.
I've been part of other stream teams that have died off because the partner no longer streams or doesn't stream as consistently, or the company they started no longer exists, whatever it might be. The Rat Pack has been something very different, and finding those people that you align with and putting chips into that, I think that is incredibly important. And I think this actually kind of ties into our next topic of
Hmm.
networking,
Yeah.
where I don't see the networking quote unquote networking on Twitch. People say, "Oh, it's not networking." Like that's not the right phrase. I think the business networking isn't the right terminology for it,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a method of building interconnected relationships with people through Twitch and through your community, through these communities, that is technically by definition networking, but you're building a legitimate emotional connection, a personal relationship with these people. If you don't like somebody, you don't support them, you don't show up to chat and vibe, or you don't have the time. Like that's a completely separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that networking is an important factor of it, and finding these communities or these stream teams that can help support you without being a follow for follow or support for support kind of thing. That is never sustainable, and I don't think anybody should ever look for that or want to be part of that. I kind of got on a tangent there.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
I think we were kind of talking about this interconnectedness of communities, and I know
I mean,
that
it goes hand in hand with networking, I think.
yeah, but like, so the Rat Pack,
Mm-hmm.
I see a ton of people come to my stream and go, I don't know you, I've never seen you before, but I know so and so from the Rat Pack, and I decided to follow everyone in the Rat Pack because that has been a specifically curated, and I think Wakey has done a very good job about curating a team of very like-minded, very similar content creators who, if you like this person, you're gonna like this person. And so there's basically a from sun up to sundown, or from midnight to midnight, you're gonna be able to find somebody who's streaming who is kind of in the same realm. We all have our own personalities, our own uniqueness, but generally you're going to get somebody who is engaging, community oriented, doesn't take themselves too seriously, enjoys lifting up community members and seeks positivity, right?
Yeah.
All the same things across that team.
I think I really feel like it's difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I feel like it's difficult for somebody that takes themselves way too seriously to stream or be a content creator, because there's so many different personalities on the internet. Can't control everyone. You're gonna get made fun of at some point, whether it's for funsies, whether it's out of malice. It's gonna happen. And to be fair, I'm not saying like, oh, roll with the punches all the time. Like, if somebody's making fun of you just cause, like, yes, that's fine. It's just Twitch. No, it's not that, but it's more so you should expect that, because it's the internet. It's the Wild West, really. You don't know who's going to be there.
For sure.
So you should definitely think.
The other part of it too is like, I cut you off.
No,
sorry.
No, you're all
but
good.
Like, the ability to even say like, look, guys, today I'm fragile. Like, I don't want it. Like, let's just have fun with the game and let's put that to the side. I know I usually do that, but today I just, my bandwidth isn't there. And to have a community who's like, I get it, I respect it. Somebody's gonna pop in, they're gonna say something, and then you're gonna be like, hey, look, I asked everyone not to do that today. Let's just squash that for now. And they'll be like, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I didn't see the announcement or whatever. But like Ramiko said, the light roasting of your favorite content creators, like it's that. I enjoy that. I give people such a hard time, and I love that back and forth banter, right? Because, like, yeah, I have my flaws. I have a command in my chat that's !read, and it's the quote from Zoolander, where he's like, "I want to make a school for kids who can't read or do other things good." Because one time I misread a chat message, and I do it all the time. So like we had to make this command, and so that is a consistent, perpetual, lighthearted joke at me misreading somebody's chat message, and people do it all the time. Like, stuff gets misread. Like, I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed dyslexia, so I mix up words all the time, and I literally, the opposite of what they were saying is what I read, and then I kind of go on a conversation, and then somebody goes !read, and I go back and I go, that's not what you said.
That's so fun. So that's how they like tell you, hey,
yeah,
what are you
much.
doing?
So one time I had a guy came in chat, and I think he said his words were, today's my birthday or something. And I thought he said, today was the birth of my boy. And I was like, oh my God, congratulations on the baby. And people just they lost their minds because like, no, Marsh, he's saying it's his birthday, not having a baby. And I was like, okay, well, that was a dumb moment.
I mean, okay, the phrasing is a little off. The birth of it sounds like I would have thought the same thing. To be fair,
I don't remember exactly what the verbiage was, but
hmm
like I had a reason, and I went back and looked at the actual chat message. Was like, I have no idea how I read that so wrong.
Ah, I see. No, I mean it happens, and I'll tell you right now. I try to be cognizant of that because if I do an oopsie, oh no, I misread something, I'm not gonna hear the end of it. It's just it's just gonna be the meme for the next 2 weeks. Genuinely.
But again, it's that not taking yourself too seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and that buildup of the your community has an inside joke with you. That is community building right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, off of community building, there's something that I'm currently even thinking about because the community is still kind of finding its shape on my end. Dealing with people that they're not like inherently bad people, but the vibe is off. They're kind of their humor might not align with the kind of vibe you want to give here. It's very out of left field. If that makes sense. Bad actors in a sense, right?
Yeah,
Have you ever had a situation like that? And if
all
so,
the time.
how do you deal with that? What's your go-to?
So usually, okay, so I've had a couple of instances of people who they step too far,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to say, we're not going to talk about that. That is not acceptable. I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable about talking about that. If you keep bringing it up, we're going to time you out, and if you bring it up again, you're just going to be banned. And I've had that happen 1 or 2 times over the course of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations that people bring up where it's like, I don't really vibe with the comments that you're making or this or that. I might first ignore their comments and just move past them and kind of try and read them in my mind, and then move to the next comment, read that one, and go forward. So I kind of give this subtle,
More of a read the
uh,
room thing.
yeah, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
do this. I'm not really gonna. I don't want like, where did this come from, or
Mm-hmm.
something. I'm like, so, and then if it keeps happening, I'll read it and go. I'll say something like, I don't understand where this is coming from or how that has any relevance to the conversation. And I'd rather not go down that path,
Mm-hmm.
or something to that tune. And
Yeah.
usually that hedges it enough where it's like, okay, they've directly told me that's not what they want to do. If I want to stay here, if I want to continue to be part of this community, I'm going to fall in line and understand how to be part of this community.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, I don't have time for them. I have no. I've gotten to the point where I have no remorse to cut folks that don't support the environment that I'm trying to build. Right. I give people a chance. I give people a warning. But if it continues to be a problem, it's just one of those. I can't have time for that space. I have such a busy schedule. I have so much going on that the added stress just isn't worth the time. And
And I respect that because I did at some point feel like I don't want to be the hall monitor. Right? I don't want to be like, oh no, how dare you say that? And I didn't want to
right.
be that. But at the same time, I stopped treating what I'm doing as a fun group hangout all the time. Because at the end of the day, I'm pouring enough time into it to where if this is just a fun group hangout, I'm not really being productive with my day. I could be doing something that could help me out a lot more, right? And yes,
Yeah.
this is something that is fun. That's why I do it. But at the same time, it's something that I want to grow. And if you're not gonna go along with the things we've set, if you're not gonna read the room on purpose, then there's really very little I can do. Now I know some people have their own rules about banning or muting or whatever it is. I don't think any content creator should feel bad about establishing their rules and applying them the way they do. That's
Right.
how your channel works. Don't look at another. I've seen this a lot with a lot of streamers I know. Don't look at another streamer and be like, oh, well, they're a little softer, so maybe I should. No. If this is how you want to run your platform in your community, do so. Because at the end of the day, that's the community you're going to have to live with.
If you're not comfortable being on camera or speaking through a mic to your community, how do you get excited about going live? How do you get excited about creating new content? How do you get
Mm-hmm.
excited about thinking, I think all day long, how do I come up with something new? How do I come up with a new channel point redemption, a new alert, a new this or that?
Mm-hmm.
And if in the back of my mind I go, well, I don't want to go live because so and so doesn't make me feel comfortable. If that's part
Mm-hmm.
of your aura, it kills the whole thing. And so
Exactly.
being a young content creator and learning how to put your foot down and say I do not accept this is extremely hard, right? If you're one of if you have to ban one of 10 viewers, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
tenth of your viewership. That's a big number,
Yeah.
right? But if it doesn't, if it's not conducive for you to be as comfortable as you can be, then that 10% of your viewership is subtracting from what your full potential is, and you have to be able to do that.
And that is a very real thing what you mentioned about do I really want to go live right now? Because I've had that happen in 2023. It was March. Yeah, it was literally March, but it was a rough college semester, just really hard classes. Work was just I was at a job that was really demanding, and I
Yeah.
want to go live. I still wanted to go live. I was tired, but I still wanted to go live. But then there was a few people in there. I was very soft on a lot of these things, right? They're like pastime is let us point out every single thing that's wrong with the way I talk, the way I do things. And it's like it was funny, but it was like that's the only thing that happens. I got to a point where I had
Yeah.
to address it because when I sat down and realized, do I really want to click live? Not because I was tired. Did I want to deal with that? That's bad. Didn't want to deal with that. So that's what I
I,
had to
I
really
know
check myself.
people I know people who have completely stopped streaming
Mm-hmm.
because of the way that community members have made them feel, and
Mm-hmm.
the challenges that have brought. So um it's hard. It's really hard, but that was one of those things that I learned early on is you have to be able to take that stance. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to set that line. And I think that line kind of moves a little bit with how long you've known somebody, right? Like
Exactly. Oh yeah,
somebody
one hundred
that has
percent.
been part of the community for years might say something and you're like, "Okay, you kind of can joke about that, but that was like if you were a brand new first time message, that would have been shut down in a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know you. But I think a lot of people on this platform and a lot of people in our communities understand that I need to warm up to the community. I need them to know me. I need to know them as well,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what it is.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with that because yes, there are some people that do make jokes here and there, and I'm like, well, I can't really give you the same treatment because I've known you for so many years, and I know who you are really, and I know why you said this. So it's like I'm more lenient, and I don't think that's like fake or anything. You can't realistically treat everyone this like it's not a dictatorship. Not everyone's gonna get the exact same treatment. There's
Right.
some seniority is gonna play a role. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's for sure.
I did want to
You
bring
have
up.
to do that.
Oh, go ahead. I did want to bring up something that we briefly talked about just now. You're a busy man. I mean, we've been planning this since October. You're very busy due to the nature of your job, due to the nature of. I mean, you're a very creative streamer. You definitely do a lot of different things on your stream. That's one of the things that hooked me when I first saw you. You do a lot of just the redeems, even the little effects that play when a hype train happens. I never even thought of that. I never even thought that was a thing. Oh, level 1, here's an effect. Level 2, here's an effect. That's amazing. Even the channel trailer is just it's amazing. Like you clearly put work into what you do. You're not half-assing it. Like you actually want to present it in a certain light, and I think
Yep.
you're doing good, in my opinion at least.
Thank you.
But yeah, because it's my opinion is the end all be all, of course. But
Right.
no,
Of course.
how do
That's
you
why I'm
manage all that?
here.
How do you manage all of that?
So
Actually, give us some tips on time
I'll
management, Marsh.
so I'll start by saying I have had one of the busiest Q4s I have ever had. I'm about a month into a hiatus from
Hmm.
streaming. I had planned on coming back last week. I had to travel this week for work. I've got um, I, I work for a real estate investment firm. I'm a financial analyst, but I really do kind of run the show from acquisitions to asset management, construction management, dispositions, capital raising, financing, everything, right? Like I am a person who wears many hats to the point where I even climbed on top of our office building's roof and flushed the downspouts to make sure that when it rains, we're not having backups. Like
Wow.
that's the full spectrum of my job. Like you think of a job in financial analyst and then add on
You heard it
so
right
many
here.
more,
Financial analyst and doubles as a blue collar worker.
all of it, right? So my schedule is like from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. It's packed. And it's actually something that I've been working on with my therapist on how do I find this time where I'm not thinking about how do I move my day job forward? How do I move my content creation forward? How do I continue my golf game? How do I explore cooking, which is another passion of mine that I've completely ignored for probably 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, how do I find time and space for all of these things? And sadly, the answer is I don't. However, I have been so beyond fortunate to have a couple of friends who have reached out and offered services, and I have to give a big shout out to Tier Reader, and I can type his name in chat here in a minute. But Tier
Yeah.
Reader has kind of stepped in as an editor for me, and the guy takes a step beyond being a just a chatter or anything like that. He has come up with a lot of these ideas. Sunblade, if you want to share his Twitch handle in chat, please do. It helped
Please
me out.
do.
Peer Reader,
Mm-hmm.
he's a newer editor. His work is, you've seen all of the trailers, all of the hype train edits. That's all him. I came up with the idea to add these hype train edits, and I said I want to
Wow.
do 20 of these, and he said
20
okay.
tiers.
So I have 20 hype train levels. So if you
That's
guys blow
insanity.
past a level 20 hype train, you'll get a repeat or something. But
You guys have
they
a
all
goal.
so he comes up with stuff like this, and he'll send me something, and I'm like, Tyria, this is amazing. And I am taking a step even further this year. This last month and a half has been kind of this hiatus of me preparing and thinking about some of the next stages of Marshmallow and the brand and the company. And I say company in a way of and this is kind of a separate tangent. I'll get back to the time management, but
Yeah.
I think that people, if you content creation is a business in a way, right? If you think about it as a business and how do I continue to make it grow as an effort to build a community, to build that connection, you're going to find more success. Like for me, that's how my brain has to work in order for it to be a challenge, right? Like this year recently, I set up an LLC. Like Marshmallow is part of an LLC. Now,
Nice.
in the U.S., that has certain tax benefits. I can write off expenses. I can do all this stuff with it, so it has its benefits. It's not worth doing unless you are seeing a certain amount of revenue. And I don't know what that revenue is. I just kind of did this as like hey, I want to explore the entrepreneurship of what is it like to have this as a business. And I think people should explore that and think about that as you continue to grow and as you continue to get bigger, not only because of the tax benefits, but also because of the personal shielding that it will offer for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If something were to happen, people could go after the LLC. They couldn't go after you, Lee. They could go after Binge with Lee, but they can't go after Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So it has its protections. Now, with that, I'm able to, like I was talking about earlier, I'm able to hire Tier Reader as an editor, and it's not like I'm paying him minimum wage or anything, but we have an agreed upon structure of here's the work that I look for, what's the pricing that I want to be able to go forward with. So I'm using my own personal finances to take the next step, to go even further, because I believe in this community and I want to continue to create something of value and connectivity, right?
That is a good point, by the way. Yes, you can write off things if you are making some sort of income on Twitch. without having to declare it as a business. There are other benefits you get, like with it being an official business on record,
Yeah,
legally,
somebody the
established.
the I think the part of it
Mm-hmm.
that it becomes a completely separate entity from you and from your business, right? So there are completely
Mm-hmm.
different amounts that you can deduct because you can only reach certain levels of deductions in one silo or the other, right?
That's what I wanted to get to.
This
Yeah,
now,
because that's what separates self-employment from business. Because if you're self-employed, when they look at you, they're looking at Marsh. That's it.
right?
Where what you mentioned, yes, if something happens, good or bad, Marshmallow is what who they're looking at. Whatever that entity is, that's what they're looking at. They're not looking at Marsh. So you can kind of have a separation between you and the business. And I
They
don't. I
can't
feel
go
like
after Steve. They
it's
can go after
nice.
Marshmallow,
It's
right?
nice. Yeah.
Exactly. So back to the original question on how do I find time to manage everything I do. First of all, I have an extremely supportive girlfriend who helps me with, you know, house cleaning and all of these kind of chores around the house so that I don't have to worry about laundry and food and all that. She allows me the space and the time to dedicate to this. So I have that incredible support structure behind the scenes. Second, I have friends like Sunblade is my top clipping person in the channel, right? I don't have to worry about clips being taken for my Monster March Monday streams or these
Mm,
other streams that I do because I know Sunblade's going to take it or somebody else is going to pick it up. That is incredibly helpful for a content creator when their community sees that they are part of that community and that they want to continue to see that community grow.
mm-hmm.
It like there are no words that I can say to express how valuable that is. I have friends like Sweet Sugar Girl who runs my Discord behind the scenes. She's organized it and made it visually appealing and attractive. I've got Tier Reader who comes up with ideas behind the scenes as he's watching different communities. There are so many community members who then drive new raids to the community. They're like, hey, I was going to be hanging out here anyways. Would you mind bringing your community on over? There's so much work behind the scenes that drives it all to helping the community grow. And again, that time management, that ability for me to focus purely on the creative side of it and the actual content that I'm putting out is huge, right? I don't have to worry about a lot of those other things. Now, yes, I do throughout the day. My job affords me the opportunity to be able to chat with people and to be in communities. I can mod for a couple of streamers. Can't do it a lot, and I'm not a very good mod. I think I'm actually a horrible mod, to be honest.
I
But
mean, hey, Tonga said you weren't a bad mod, so.
that's very high praises because I know I am horrible. I'm so bad. So I'm literally listening there with the content creators who I mod for, and if they ask for a shout out or if they say um like something like, hey, I don't think this is okay, it piques my interest and I start to focus on it. But I'm usually working on stuff throughout the day. But I'm able to kind of chime in and say hello and do all that. But that's kind of like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, maybe 10 to 6, when I'm able to kind of poke my head into streams and chat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a lurking mod, exactly, Sunblade. Yeah, I kind of lurk a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of the time I have to be able to do that. Um, I I definitely believe that I have some undiagnosed ADHD, and I found ways over the years to
Mm-hmm.
channel that ADHD in a a positive manner, and it's stuff that works for me. Somebody's like, "You think?" No, I'm pretty sure I do. I found ways of channeling that, and I don't know if this works for everyone or works for others, but I find giving myself little rewards or having those rewards available for me as I'm focusing on a task
Mm-hmm.
and using those rewards as I complete small portions of the task. But I also allow that ADHD to kind of run rampant sometimes and let it run its course and then kind of clean up the pieces. So when I got OBS kind of running and updated, I just said, all right, let's just go and let the energy just flow out, right? Figured out how to set up scenes, figured out, I was bouncing between different videos on how do I create this effect? How do I add this scene? What do I do for this audio source? Where do I grab this or that? And kind of just let it mold into what it was. And Ghost Bear Laura will attest to this. There have been days where I spent 8 hours just like focused on OBS, and she called it the rabbit hole, and she's like, oh, you're going down a rabbit hole, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah,
OBS is a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Oh, it seriously is. But like, you have to have some slight ADHD to be I don't know if you have to have it to be a great streamer simply, but I think you have to have some of it to be able to bounce between ideas and topics and allow your brain to switch from one track to the next and easily, seamlessly switch between the two, right?
It is creatively draining, I won't lie. And it's sometimes this might sound backwards. Sometimes it's nice to be creatively over, like your bandwidth is gone, because your mind can rest a little bit, and then you can maybe get back to it with a more healthy thought, because like you said, thoughts 24/7. What point redeems can I add? What stream can I do? What kind of thing can I incorporate to better the viewer enjoyment? But
so I bought a notebook recently that fits in my back pocket, and I'm carrying this around with me to write down ideas of, oh, this is a good idea. Because I don't know when inspiration hits me. I used to keep it my phone, but I forget that I have a notes app. So this being a source of creativity is really helpful. I don't know. That works for me because I don't have any time that I just sit down and go, okay, I'm going to let myself think about creative ideas, or I'm going to sit down and the creativity will come to me. Like, it comes to me when it wants to come to me. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night. Sometimes it's when I'm on the toilet. But you got to figure it out when you figure it out.
That's the best time for creativity. Bathroom breaks, best time. All the amazing stream ideas come during that time.
Oh, that's when I respond to Discord messages, private DMs.
So if I'm ever DMing March, should I just assume he's on the toilet?
It's about a 50-50 chance, to be honest.
That's so awesome. TMI, 2 March information. Is that like a community thing? Because I'm not familiar with that.
No, that's Ramiko realizing how much information he's now been exposed to.
No, I mean, I can tell you, we just got done talking about community. A couple of you have followed. Yes, alerts are off, but I mean, just so far, just from first impressions, they are very welcoming, and I can't say the same for a lot of other communities. Is where I keep it, right? Can't say the same for a lot of other people that I met, but you're doing a great job, and I gotta say, with your busy schedule, and yes, we've been planning this for a while, I can confidently say, which is why I'm kind of excited for this to be the grand last Talk with Lee this year. You are the first, and this was never an expectation of any of my guests, but you are the first guest to not only say, oh, okay, let's talk about topics, but really want to be in it, right? Okay, what if we talk about this? What if we talk about that? Oh, what if we do stream together? Like, you care. And I'm not saying the other guests don't care, but you really are passionate about the whole content creation in general, and that really spoke to me, and it made me realize, okay, good choice. Because like I said, I got picky with guests, and immediately you're like, okay, this guy is perfect, because you immediately wanted to make this episode good, not just for me, but for you and your viewers. And it was, I don't know, like it gave me a lot of respect, especially with your busy schedule.
If I'm gonna take on an endeavor, I'm not gonna give it half my attention. I'm going to give it 100% of it, right? If it falls short, it falls short, but I gave it my all, and I can go, all right, look, I did everything I could, and I'm just not good at it, or whatever it is. But if I give it everything I have, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna it's one of those things, like, I'm not just gonna try. If I'm going to put the time into something, it's going to be everything I have. Because if I'm not gonna give it everything I have, what's the point of starting it in the first place?
Exactly. Now, I agree with that, because so many things we do online, or I see a lot of people do online, like, you could have done it better. And I never want to have that thought when I finish a project for anything, really. I could have done this better, or I could have done more, or I could have not skimped down on this. I never want to have that regret. And sometimes you will have that regret just by nature, but if I could help it, I want to make sure I could put all my effort into whatever it is I'm doing creatively, because that's the outlet that I have outside of work, outside of school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I've told this to anyone, but
Oh.
I gave up bodybuilding as a replacement for Twitch. I'm 5'10", maybe 5'9", between 5'9" and 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
I was 180 pounds, 8% body fat. I could
Wow.
deadlift up over 400 pounds. I could bench, twice my body. I was a monster. And COVID hit, couldn't go to the gym, and I had nowhere to place that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have full on put the energy back into content creation
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out, what I can do with this. And, the body is now a Pillsbury Doughboy, but the content creation has been everything that I could muster in terms of energy, and I would have it no other way. I wouldn't do it any other way, because I've met some incredible people, and there's nothing better than the relationships and the connections that you can build with others. The support structure. I know Gus talks about this a lot, about building that community, building the people that when shit hits the fan, you can go, I need help. I really need help.
You have people to call on.
Absolutely. And in my Discord, I have two channels. I have it's the Off Your Chest channel and the Power of Positivity. Off Your Chest is a space. It's a 18. The Discord's 18 plus, but this is an NSF space where you have to agree, like, hey, I understand that this is an area that might cause triggers, right? People are going to be talking about very heavy topics here, and you have to agree to join that, as you have to agree to join the Power of Positivity. And so Off Your Chest is a place where people talk about things from all spectrums, where it's the I need help space, and the community as a whole comes together to give words of affirmation or support, or share their own experiences with a similar topic, and kind of talk through some of these things. And then the Power of Positivity is the flip side. It's the opposite side of that coin. It's what was the good thing that happened? And I try and encourage people, but I think so many of us are so focused on, like, what was the bad thing that happened? But the Power of Positivity is like, what was a good thing that happened to you today? I got a free coffee today, or I found a $1 bill on the floor. Like, minor things.
Yep.
But it's like, no, these are like, these are good things that happened to you today. Like, find the positive thing that occurred, and ruminate on that as much as you ruminate on the hard things. And
yeah, that's what I love about Twitch, though. What you mentioned, like, I love meeting all these different people that I would never have met. I guess I can meet people outside. I by nature, I do meet a lot of different people just from campus and all that stuff. But meeting people from different countries, I see different perspectives, different ways of viewing life, different thought processes, and it makes me. And I already had a lot of moments like this where I was set on certain thoughts about how life should be or how life should work, and I meet somebody from the other side of the planet who has different experiences, who has just a completely different life, and we have a talk, and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not so smart, right? And I love that.
So this is the interesting part, though, Binge. Like, you have found a way to foster a community that is able to have a respectful conversation, and I think a lot of that has been lost over the years, and people are able to share their opinions, share their thoughts, without it being a you versus me. And that is something that I try to foster in my community as well. I recently took on politics as I've had these taboo topics, and Gus was actually the catalyst of why I said I want to remove that filter from my community. I want to be able to approach each other with a lens of respect, of sharing knowledge, in order to find a way of understanding or find some common ground, rather than it being you said that's what you think, you versus me. That's not the case, right? But I think those different perspectives, those different life experiences, all add up to a greater whole. And as a community, sharing those life experiences, sharing that mentality is extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I think the number one issue with not even just politics, any topic that's heavily charged emotionally, right,
Mm-hmm.
is, let's say I have a view on something, you have the complete opposite view on something, and we're talking. The regular conversation nowadays goes like this: I don't view you as March. I view you as that thought that I disagree with. So now I've removed the person and I see the thing that I hate, and that's why these
Right.
conversations get so volatile. And
Yeah.
that's what you need to work on if you ever want to have that discussion with anyone. You have to establish that I'm a person, you're a person, you're as complex as I am, and vice versa. We can talk about this. I'm sure you think this way because of the life experience you've had, and I think that way because of the life experience I had. It's all about common understanding and a common language to remove that misunderstanding. It's easier said than done. It's
It absolutely is. And I have the perfect way to tie this
mm-hmm,
conversation into the next topic
mm-hmm,
about taking how do you keep the content from um, being part of your IRL, right?
mm-hmm.
I have
Yeah, the
strayed away
separation.
from the
Mm-hmm,
term IRL. I don't use IRL. I
mm-hmm,
use AFK because we have created as a society this perception of what happens on the internet isn't real. In
mm-hmm.
real life, this is real life. You and I are having an actual conversation as if we were face to face.
Yep.
But we have, as a society, made it so that that doesn't the terminology doesn't make it seem that way. So
Mm-hmm,
AFK being away from keyboard, right? That to me is a very powerful shift from that it's not a separation, but that terminology, right? Well, I think your question was
I think I was leaning more on the less about the being a different person and more so, obviously one of the biggest fears on the internet is that you don't know everybody that's on there and you don't know what kind of
sure.
intentions they have. So for I'm very open on the internet. Like I'm not like living a double secret life or anything, but there are some aspects that I naturally will not speak on stream due to safety reasons or whatever it may be.
Right.
And the bigger you get on Twitch, the more that line gets kind of gets blurry. It's hard to hide some things. It's hard to not speak on some things. You might not have that issue, or you might have never. But I was really more interested on. Have you ever had that talk with yourself, or if you did, what did you end up doing?
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. Like, so I
Mm-hmm.
share what I do for work.
Mm-hmm.
I do share some details about myself. I share that I live in North Hollywood. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty big city. I don't share beyond that. I don't get any more detail
Specific.
about my
Mm-hmm.
proximity, right?
Yeah.
But it's a way for me to express some details about me that allow people to understand who I am and why my viewpoints are what they are. I think it's important to, like you said, to be yourself, to be as expressive as you are,
Mm-hmm.
to share some details that your community can resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one persona versus the other, it's going to be very hard for you to have that dual life, right? That
Yes.
internet life versus AFK life.
Yep.
That's
100%.
very, very difficult to hold up. I think I'm exactly who I am on camera as I am off camera. Maybe I'm a little bit more animated and I'm a little bit more expressive, or I react to something slightly more, but not.
I hope you're not exactly like it in real life, because the only thing I remember from the trailer is you getting scared or you getting mad at a boss and pulling out a samurai sword. It's my favorite clip
Okay,
of you, by the way.
I had been fighting that boss for hours, and I was just at my wit's end, and I was like, "Oh, be funny if I pretended I was fighting it myself." So
No, it's funny.
that was like a little.
That was my first impression of you, because I remember when Gus had told me about you, somebody had rated you and you do that, that trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess you were calm that stream. You're like, it's just a chill stream, right? And then I see the clip and you're like, come and get me. Come and fucking get me. And I'm like,
I'll fucking kill you.
I was like, whoa, that's completely different from the guy I'm seeing right now. And I thought it was the funniest thing. Favorite clip. Genuinely, I haven't seen all your clips, obviously. Favorite clip.
Oh, that's a good one. I love that one. do
It's
the
so
rest of
good.
the interview with Marsh Monica. Not happening.
What's Marsh?
So when I
Enlighten me.
one of my okay, so Ramiko is referencing I am not a horror game player. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I have never played horror games in my entire life, except for this year. I decided, hey, wouldn't it be fun for October? I think it was maybe actually September. I decided I'm going to create this new Monday tradition where I'm going to play a horror game. Which, by the way, I'm playing Crimson Snow on Monday if work does not kick my ass. Uh, I play horror games on Mondays, and it's called Monster March Monday. And I jump so easily to the scariest thing on the on games. And I was like, oh, you know what would be really funny if I put a harmonica in my mouth as I'm doing these horror games. And so there was a moment where I'm walking through this house. We're playing Suite 776, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking through this house, and I got the harmonica in my mouth, and I just start hyperventilating, and it's it's so bad that if you had Tangio, we could play it. It's
Uh-huh.
it basically sounds like I'm moaning into a harmonica. TikTok did not allow the sound because it was too seductive.
You have to show me that after stream, please.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Or
I
you
don't
can
know if you
even.
have
I don't
clips
have
enabled
Tangy yet. I do have.
for
Oh,
viewers.
you can
If you
send
have
the.
Twitch whitelisted, you can. I don't know if you have that.
You can
done,
send links in the chat, and I can pull it up.
Okay, so Sunblade, if you want to pull that up, or Ramiko,
Yeah.
if you want to pull up Marsh Monica, or even the one where I tell Ghost Bear Lord to go to bed. That one's the best. That one's really good. that one was pretty intense. So
Well, let me ask you this then. It's this question was gonna happen regardless, just off the name. Elephants. Why? That's all I'm gonna ask. Why?
so as I
Actually, before you answer
Sunblade's
that,
like I already got it.
let's show the. We're gonna disappear for a second. I'm gonna full screen the clip for you guys, and oh, I need to. Here, let's just full screen it. There we go.
Oh, we can't hear the bot. Oh wait, maybe you can. I can't. I have it muted.
Oh. Thank
Just wanna
you.
make sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Here. Let me do that again.
Pot of gold.
That is insane.
So yeah, that was one of the top clips of this year. I think that has over 100 views. Like that's the most viewed clip.
I can't tell if you were laughing or crying for a second.
It was both. It was. I'm not even kidding. I was both crying and laughing. So that's what chat loves. 200. It's over 200 views. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's wonderful.
So I don't play horror games, and that's why chat loves to see me play them.
That's wonderful. You guys
Okay.
probably saw like a bunch of screen changes. My apologies. I'm a pro streamer. Pro streamer, as you can tell. Pro streamer. But no, elephants. You have a
You
lot
asked
of
about elephants.
So yeah, and I know you do conservation effort or like adoption efforts, and you do promote that stuff on your stream. Tell me more about that. But first, I want to know why you even decided that was the brand, really.
So as a kid, I don't know why. As a kid, I always loved elephants, and it's evolved over the years. But from a very young age, I always thought elephants were really cool, just because of how big they were, how intelligent they seemed, and I thought it was really funny that they were afraid of mice. I don't think they're actually afraid of mice. They're afraid of things that they that run past them and scare them, which is very similar to me, right? Kind of funny to think of it that way, but it was their the sense of community that they had that felt like a really powerful symbol. And elephants, as I'll tell you about this, but their wisdom, strength, and community is it's a symbolic for many cultures. And I kind of leaned on that and leaned into that and said, you know what, if I had a community like a herd, I'd be so happy. every elephant supports every other elephant, right? A mother has a baby, the other elephants helps raise that baby. If there's something that seems to be attacking the herd, they all defend. They all put their ears out and they look as big as they can. It's this collective group of survival, and seeking a way to thrive. And to me, that definition was so powerful for what I was looking for very early on as a content creator, finding a community that would support each other and thrive together. And that's so hard to do in today's society. Now, elephants are a very endangered species, and I went online today. I took a couple of stats from a website, and I can share that website here. But it's another conservation site that talked about elephant poaching, and this is from, I'm trying to grab the name of it, the IFAW, which is, I don't know what it stands for, to be honest, but it's
Sounds professional.
yeah, it's exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds professional. So over the last 100 years, 90% of African elephants have been poached for their ivory, and ivory is the main reason for elephants being poached, for their tusks. Their tusks are made of ivory, which is used for creating ornaments, jewelry, and it's used in traditional medicine.
Joke
The
aside,
second,
International Fund for Animal Welfare.
thank you, Joker. I appreciate Jim. The second reason is because of this human-wildlife conflict of elephants. There's a couple reasons, but mostly it's where elephants are breaking into people's crops and agriculture and interfering with their livelihood. A lot of times, those crops and agriculture has already encroached upon people's space, or people have. I'm sorry, the other way. People have encroached upon elephants' habitats, and so
Exactly.
the elephants are just like, what is this farm here? And they're confused. The problem with elephant poaching and what has happened is that it often happens in areas where there are very few opportunities of income growth, where people are really stuck. They're forced to be farmers because there's no mining, there's no tech jobs, there's no other resources. So poaching and cultivating ivory is the only means to economic advancement. And so they utilize that as a way to take themselves out of extreme poverty. It's just, which is really sad that that's the only option that they have. 40% of elephant deaths have been due to poaching, and 55 elephants are poached every single day, according to this 2021 study.
40%. Wow.
So 40% of elephant deaths are due to poaching. Yeah.
I wonder what the other 60 is.
Maybe natural causes, or predators.
I'm willing to say outside of poaching, it's probably the loss of habitat, because that's really common for a lot of animals.
Yeah, I'm sure a portion of that, and natural causes, right? Yeah. In 2008, poaching kind of surged, and it peaked in 2011. It is now illegal. It is completely illegal for people to poach elephants, as they are an endangered species, both African and Asian elephants. In 2016, there were 415,000 African elephants, which was a 110,000 elephant decline from the previous 10 years. In 2021, there are still only 415,000 elephants.
Wow.
So from 2011 to 2021, a 10-year span, their population hasn't grown or declined. So these conservation efforts that have been occurring since, I think 2001, I'm kind of speculating here on how, when that happened, but over the last decade, there hasn't been this material shift, which is both positive and scary, right? The fact that their populations haven't grown means that poaching is still continuing, or that their habitats are changing so much that they're not able to build their herd or their communities as much as they have in years prior. But they also haven't lost ground. That means that these conservation efforts are working. They're not advancing them, but they're conserving the actual population. I mentioned that there's African elephants. There's two types of African elephants: forest elephants and savanna elephants. Forest elephants had a population decline of 86% over the last 31 years. In my lifetime, I'm 31 years old, I'll be 32 in February. In my lifetime, 86% of their population has declined.
Wow.
Now, these are the elephants that are living within the forests. Their populations have probably mostly been affected by deforestation and that conflict between humans and elephant habitats. The savanna elephants, on the other hand, their population has decreased by 60% over the last 50 years, which is probably more due to the direct poaching. And I'm kind of speculating on that. I didn't have a whole ton of information on that, but I thought it was just kind of interesting, the difference between the two. It was traditionally thought that that African elephants were one species, but was figured that there are actually two. And they were able to now parsect and dissect what the difference between the two of them
Still
was.
an insane number. You're talking 86% in only 3 decades.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the scary thing, right? It's like how quickly this snowballed to where people found out that ivory was a highly sought after a resource and that it was very valuable and they could exploit it. And fortunately, it was caught early enough that they could say, okay, we're done. Like, this needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
People are still being bad actors and going around it and continuing to poach, but it's been stopped a lot.
Joe
Now,
could
the third,
mention one thing real quickly. Sorry to
sure.
interject. He said, I think I saw an article not too long ago about scientists that scientists have recreated ivory in a lab that is indistinguishable from real ivory. They're flooding the market with it. So, like, the fake ivory can stop the poaching or make it more unsustainable for business. So, make your money and stop the poaching. I guess there you go.
And if by flooding the market, they'll make it so that ivory is worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really, really cool thing. It's the same thing with diamonds, right? You have these lab created diamonds that are almost indistinguishable from real diamonds. And so you no longer have people who are forced into mines to find diamonds, the blood diamonds.
Yeah, people still think the mining culture died with the Industrial Revolution or the early. No. There's still countries till this day where the only job you can get is working in a mine. And even then, that job, even if you survive through working those conditions, your lifespan is cut short through all those toxic chemicals you're intaking, through the backbreaking work you're doing. I encourage everybody to do their research on these topics because the world outside of our, we're lucky enough to live in places where we don't have to do those things, but do expand your knowledge and see that there are some people that aren't as fortunate, and their voices have to be heard by somebody.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned the two types of African elephants. There's a third elephant that is called the Asian elephant, and Asian elephants have been fortunate enough not to be poached as much as African elephants because they don't have tusks. They don't have the same resources that. Now, some of them do. They have much smaller tusks, but they're not as desirable.
Oh my god, that's the difference. Oh, that's so cool. You know what? You just taught me something new. That's actually so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
They are poached though for their skin and meat, which is used as a means of medicine in Eastern cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So they are being poached, but at a much smaller level. I don't know if they're technically endangered or not. I'm not 100% certain, but there's only about 50,000 Asian elephants in the world.
Oh my god!
So their population is extremely small relative to African elephants, and I'm glad that they're not being targeted because they would be wiped out very, very quickly.
If they were targeted at the same rate, they would have been gone a long time ago.
So not the kind of like, well, why does it? Why does it matter? Elephants do play a really critical role in the environments of the ecosystems in Africa and Asia, right? A lot of times they're creating clearings of forests. They're dispersing seeds. They create pathways for other animals. And as I mentioned before, they are of extreme cultural significance to a lot of these tribes in the area where they represent wisdom, strength, spirituality, and I think a sense of community because of how close knit they are. How there are calves that are birthed from other mothers, and the entire herd will rush to its aid if it's in trouble. And I think that's extremely powerful and really cool. The other aspect of poaching that is really interesting is that elephants' genetics have changed over the last 30 plus years, where
Mm-hmm.
the ones who have the larger tusks are no longer being born, that their genetics have changed so that they don't grow tusks. Because if you have big tusks, you're going to get poached. So you're not going to be able
Wow.
to bear other calves. The smaller their tusks, the more likely they were to live. This has a pretty big and substantial impact on the future generations and the potential for them to survive long term. Tusks are used for them to dig, to forage, defend against natural predators. Um, Without them, they're left vulnerable, right? Lions, tigers
And
aren't
with
going to be
them,
able.
they're left targets.
They're targets. They have a giant. They're a massive creature. Yes, they have strength. Yes, they have power. But without that defense mechanism, they're kind of in a position of exposure.
So with, it's really sad to hear, but obviously there are people out there doing what they can to
Right.
at least help mitigate, because no one, not a single person can stop it by themselves. You're one of those people. You're trying to provide to help conservation efforts. What exactly do you do on your channel? Give us some like examples of how you maybe advertise, or
Yeah.
run
So
me through it, because I'm not too familiar with like exactly what you do. Yeah.
sure. Every quarter, I have an adoption goal for the first $75 that's donated through Stream Elements or through
Mm-hmm.
Streamlabs. It goes directly towards an elephant adoption. Now, I've been doing this for 4 years now, and the community
Mm-hmm.
has never failed to reach that adoption goal.
Man.
Not once. If you're the top donor in any given quarter, I send you the plushie that I would be sent through the World Wildlife Foundation, and we named him
Mm-hmm.
Tusk. He's our channel mascot. He's an absolute degenerate, but so we have some fun with it, like
Uh-huh.
just being silly. And as Sunblade mentioned, I also do have a channel point redemption where if you're not able to financially donate, but you are there in chat and in the community for frankly a very long time. I think it's 275,000 channel points. I will
Mm-hmm.
pay for the elephant adoption on your behalf, and I will still send you Tusk. That is available for folks to save up for, and I think we're at like 20 elephants overall, even though there's
Wow.
yeah
That is
we've adopted
great job, man. That's insane.
20 elephants.
Wow.
It is a symbolic adoption, so it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
adopt like, okay, there's an elephant in wherever
Mm-hmm.
that is this single donation. We do it through the World Wildlife Foundation, who
Mm-hmm.
sends the money towards conservation efforts, being habitat education or anti-poaching methods, or elephant diversions so that they're not interfering with crops and agriculture. But it is, I think the World Wildlife Foundation is a large enough company that I'm sure some of it is put towards marketing and this and that. I think they're a large enough organization that they are using a lot of the funds that they receive for the enhancement of these creatures, and it's I think they do great work.
And hey, if anything, it makes for an amazing brand for you. Listen, I don't know. The elephants are just I don't know. Maybe it's because I saw the elephants before I saw you, but it just works. It makes sense with you.
It's very unique. It's I think there's one, maybe two other people who have an elephant themed channel. Like Elements is one of them. I'm trying to think of another one. Very few people have elephant themed communities, and like I've got branded merch for it, and like people send me. This was actually made by Sunblade's wife. This is probably one of the most adorable crochets I've ever received.
So you have two tusks.
Oh, I have multiple. We've got this one. We've got this one.
That's dangerous, because you said tusk makes you do bad things.
Oh yeah, no, it's a problem.
So now you have a lot of them, and I don't know if you can fight those urges anymore.
Nope. Isn't that cute, Echo? Yeah, this is a pretty adorable one. I'm trying to figure out or maybe a way for some community members to receive one of these over the next couple months. I've got my 4-year affiliate anniversary coming up.
I love that crochet
in February.
That
It's so well done.
that octopus app behind me. You know Jaeger, right?
Yes, yeah,
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 she made that for me.
yeah.
Because
That's
I got to meet
awesome.
them not too recently, so it's or not too long ago. And no, she's really nice. I love these little crocheted little things. It's
They're
so cute.
cool. I
It
really
takes a
like
lot of
them.
effort too.
For sure.
Well, I
For
mean,
sure.
I wish, I wish I could pinpoint because I have a favorite animal. I love birds. They're my favorite animal.
Yeah.
But like I don't have a story behind it. You know what I mean? Like I don't have like I didn't really look into how birds operate or anything, and I don't even really have a specific species. If you got wings and you can fly, like just okay, maybe birds that can fly, right? Like tiny birds, parrots. I love those things. They're so cute.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think now as you talk about elephants, like why do I like birds so much? I'm trying like there's must be a reason. I didn't just like start liking them, but it's interesting because you really have a well thought out reason for why elephants became, your favorite animal.
I think some of it also evolved because I was like, all right, I'm going to make this my brand. And so it kind of
Makes sense.
materialized a little bit more for me. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been asked this question so many times. And so I think every time I'm asked it, it becomes a little bit more substantiated over time. So
I need to look in. Marsh might have just inspired me to turn Binge with Lee into a bird channel. Bird with Lee. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this might happen.
So I heard that bird watching and that is basically the adult version of Pokemon. You go out and take pictures of birds and you collect the names of them. You gotta capture them all.
Mm. Have you ever been bird watching?
I have not. No.
I you know what? I feel like it's in your future. You're gonna be like 60 years old. You're not streaming at the time, like at the time,
I'm gonna
maybe.
go be taking pictures of elephants.
Oh, you're just gonna be elephant watching. You're not bird watching. My favorite animal is jellyfish. See, I like jellyfish, but I also don't because I remember
I,
as a kid I got stung by one, and that was the only experience I've had with one, and I still remember that pain. That was
I
pain like
love
nothing else.
seeing other people's favorite animals. It's like the connection to a creature that we can't communicate with,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding like what's the rationale behind it. Like I think jellyfish are fascinating, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
not my favorite, but I think they're so cool, so interesting. Sunblade loves wolves, and by the way, Sunblade is doing kind of the similar thing that
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing with elephants with wolves. But wolves are a pack creature as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's really really cool.
What really gets me
Sharks.
about jellyfish are just their their anatomy. They're see through. How do they work? Where's like just it's more of an intrigue about how they work more so than how they act. But I will say, joke sharks. That's another animal that's been heavily mistreated by movies, media, and just the world in general. Because sharks are just not. We have this idea of sharks. They're
Yeah,
they're just mean all the time. They hate people, but they're like almost like dogs that have just more lethal power. I guess you can say.
sharks are fascinating. I really like sharks too.
I
I
love
really like
sharks.
octopi too. I think the
Fun
octopus
fact.
is a really, really interesting
Oof,
creature.
yeah. Fun fact: I have been swimming with sharks before. So I love sharks. It was really nice. I was really scared. I was a kid, but it was really
Were you
nice.
in a cage or were
No, no,
you
no. I was like,
you were free swimming with them?
mm-hmm. Because I used to. I'm from Libya, so
Okay.
North Africa. So there's a lot of different ocean, no, ocean sea related activities to do, and that was all we had. Third world country, we didn't really have much, so the environment's what you had to work with, right? So a lot of the stuff we did was sea related. So I'm pretty sure it was not regulated by anything, and it probably was not very safe. But I'm here, so
But you survived. Or
there
is
you
it
go.
the quote from The Hangover? But did you die?
No, I didn't. I did not. And you know what? It's an experience. I don't recommend doing it though. If you ever go to Libya for some reason, don't do that.
Don't do the shark
If
diving.
some random dude with sandals tells you, "Hey, we can," it's some sandals, shorts, and a knockoff Gucci shirt because that's like a really popular where I'm from, right? Tells you, "Hey, I got a boat. We can go. I know a couple of sharks. We can go swimming." Just say no. It's not worth
I'm good.
it.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I love how you structured that the topic about elephants because you just covered like both of the topics I laid out really in one fell swoop amazingly too. And this is research that you did today, so that's impressive.
I meant to do this like weeks ago. I also meant to like research. I mentioned talking about AI and game development and all that. I meant to go down rabbit
Ooh,
holes and
yeah, yeah.
come with some actual meat and potatoes
Hmm.
on this.
I'll hydrate just for you, Joke. I'll hydrate just for you.
I didn't get the chance to do any of that. But I
That's
did
fine.
research elephants real quick. So.
I mean, I'm sure also like I mean it is a big part of your brain. So I'm sure there's some knowledge there that's like almost stuck in your head at this point.
Yeah.
I let's talk about some video games. We love video games. You love video
Yeah.
games. I love video games. I think they're cool. I once upon a time, I'll just walk you through this so I don't have to keep going back. In high school, I used to want to be a video game developer. I used to want to make video games. I made one, liked it. Assassin's Creed 4 had come out at the time, and I was like, man, this is what I want to do. I want to make a pirate game, and I code all that cool stuff. This was back in Unreal Engine before it had all those assets that you can use. Like 2013, there wasn't really all that to work with.
Yeah.
Started working on water physics, and I gave up. I said, "This I like playing them. This is not what I want to do." I still had a creative outlet that I still wanted a creative outlet. I had a lot of thoughts, and I wanted to put them to some visuals, right? It was less about the mechanics, it was more about story. So I was like, film is the natural thing to go with. And not saying film is for any filmmaker out there, not saying it's easier. It's just it felt more fulfilling to me to put those hours in. So going to game development, I think game development is very different from when I took an interest in it and I did a lot of research because game development back in the day, like, well, it is back in the day. Jeez, that's like 11 years ago. Holy shit.
If it's over a decade, it's back in the day.
Oh my God. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Okay.
Dude, I've been out of college for almost a decade now.
Oh no. It's okay, man. You don't look a day over 22.
Thanks.
No.
Inside, I feel way older than that.
I mean, we just talked about the insane workload you have, but hey, you're maintaining the looks, man. You're all good. But no, with video game development, I guess I'm gonna talk less about the mechanics because again, I'm not as versed in it. I don't know how well versed are you in video game development. Yeah, so I want to talk more about
I don't know.
I guess the crunch time of things because there's been a trend in 2024 and 2023 that I haven't seen before. We've seen it before, but we haven't seen it this prevalent. Almost every single major release outside of Black Myth Wukong came out broken.
Yep.
And I respect developers for taking the time to fix their game, and yes, they deserve some praise, but at the same time, I'm of the mind of you released a product, and yes, I should commend you for fixing it, but it shouldn't need to be fixed this much. You know what I mean? And it's
absolutely.
I don't know what it is, and a lot of you can attest to this. A lot of games this year and last year have just come out in the state of glitches, or if it's a live service, it's the servers are bad, or it's choppy. And I don't think that's due to lack of motivation or lack of creativity in the field or lack of talent. It's become like a sweatshop. Gaming is, by all accounts, the most profitable entertainment industry currently.
It's answering to shareholders.
Yeah. So it's like these people do not have that much time to do all these things at 100% accuracy. I mean, they're pulling 8-hour work weeks, 100-hour work weeks. Can you imagine? I've never done a 100-hour work week in my life. The most I've done was 80 hours. Can you imagine an extra 20? I can't.
I mean, like I'm probably between 40 and 50 on average, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's an intense workload. Plus, on top of that, I'm only talking about my 9 to 5. My day job is 40 to 50. But like, yeah, I've had weeks that are much more than that. But like, I can't even like remember to shower when I've worked that much, or like remember how to make a healthy meal. Like that just does not happen. I can't imagine the hours that go into it.
Yeah.
And you bring up something that was really interesting. What has caused this shift from, I think it's this transition from physical gaming to downloadable gaming that has caused a shift of, oh, it's okay, we'll fix it in post. Kind of mentality.
It's no longer on a physical disc as much anymore.
Game Boy games, GameCube games, anything that came on a disc, it was like, no, that's the game. We're not getting any chance to fix it, so it has to be playable, or our company's going to fail. Nobody's going to buy the game again. Now they're like, this is a beta. Oh, this is an alpha. This is a test. And it's this chance for, I think, developers to push something out that is truly unfinished. They know it's unfinished, but they're forced to develop something and put it out in order to move on to the next thing. And I kind of wanted to spend a moment to talk about Cyberpunk and the kind of the story behind that. I
Please do.
loved I loved The Witcher 3. And
Oh, me
I
too.
played The Witcher 3 a little bit. It's my all-time favorite game. I think from a story perspective, from a world building, it hits everything that I want in a game. The open world element to it was mind-blowing. Um, I thought that game was incredible. I didn't play that game fully until probably 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I picked it up, put it down. I couldn't get into it. I struggled with it, and then I finally said, "I'm doing this. I'm dedicating everything to finishing this game all the way through."
Expansions included.
Expansions included,
Oh,
which were some of
nice,
the
nice.
all-time greatest expansions, like the gold standard of expansions.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot beat those. They were full games built within the world of the Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard from people who played through the entirety of The Witcher 3 that when it released, it was completely broken. It didn't play well. But I just don't have that recollection, that memory of it, because I didn't get that far into it when
Mm-hmm.
it first came out. So it doesn't have that tainted memory. But I think CD Projekt Red worked really hard to create Cyberpunk, and they kept realizing the limitations of the time they had and trying to push out the game faster than they were comfortable doing. And when it came out, it was a complete flop. I played it relatively close to release, but I
Mm-hmm.
had like 2.5 gigs worth of mods applied to it in order to make it playable. You shouldn't have to do that.
No.
That's created a tainted image for me for CD Projekt Red. If they fail and fall short on The Witcher 4, which I very well think they could, I will be very disappointed, and I wouldn't be surprised, unfortunately. But I think you asked me earlier, will you pre-order games? My
Yeah.
answer is
What?
no.
Yeah. Your thoughts on
I will
pre-ordering in general? Yeah.
I do not want to, because like Star Wars Outlaws, the game that recently came out by Ubisoft. I heard some stuff about it. I was like, oh, it sounds like a really cool topic. Years ago, I probably would have pre-ordered it and been like, yeah, sure, I'll pay this $69 for it, and I'll probably have a good time. But I have this hesitation now that if everyone is pushing games out faster than they're supposed to, why am I going to buy it early when I'm really only going to wait until I probably was going to wait until it's been out for 2, 3, 4 months
Mm-hmm.
after all of the day one patches have come out to fix it and stabilize it. It doesn't make sense to pre-order. And 90% of the time, the pre-order incentive is some sort of cosmetic that does nothing in the game. Very rarely is that incentivizing enough for me to go, oh yeah, I'll pay for this 3 months before I plan to play it,
Mm-hmm.
just so I can have that cosmetic.
Yeah, and I think CDPR. Okay, I'll tell you. I played Witcher close to its release cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have a recollection of what day one looked like, right? But even if day one, let's just say it was just as bad as Cyberpunk, right? I think CD Projekt Red was loved at the time, but it wasn't as praised. And I think after Witcher 3 and after the praise it got, because credit where credit's due, they didn't release an Ultimate Edition. They just released a complete edition once they had all the expansions out. You
Yeah.
got the soundtrack, you got the map, you got everything that we would get from another company for like
I
paying
think
an
it was in
extra
a
20.
time though that they were able to
Mhm.
release it and fix it before it got the notoriety
Reception.
that Cyberpunk did, right? They
Uh,
built Cyberpunk up and hyped it up so much.
mm-hmm.
Couldn't they their only option was to blow it out of the park, and
And the
they
thing is,
completely failed.
I don't think, even if they didn't hype it up all that much, with the amount of hype they built around CDPR and how we are the company for the gamers. We won't screw you out of money. Like we make amazing games. Look at Witcher 3. And this is our next big title. There were like double the eyes on it minimum, right? And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, and here Cyberpunk is really an interesting case because I like the game. 100% of it. I love it.
Oh, I do too.
But it's still
After
tainted.
the 2.0
It's still a little
update.
tainted though because again, I played it on release. I still remember what it was like. But it's with a lot of games that come out broken. I always see like a big like, I hate this game. This game's stupid, from the entire community. Cyberpunk is weird. I meet people that don't like it, and I meet people that don't just like it. That's their life. They love it. And I've noticed a lot of people. I haven't seen that with a lot of other games. Cyberpunk is like that's who they are. That's what defines them. It's not a bad thing or anything. That's just like their favorite piece of media. And I wonder why that is with Cyberpunk specifically.
Well, you bring up a good point. I think there's a lot more animosity towards games today than there has been in the future. Or maybe I'm just more in tune with it, right? I think more people are critical of games than they have been in the past, right?
Everybody has a platform now, you know.
Everyone has a voice, so they're able to put it out there. And that negativity, I think, sparks more conversation, more interaction than I like this game. Okay, well, your positive comment isn't going to generate the same interaction, so it doesn't get seen as much. And this is one of those things about our society as a whole that I want to try and break away from. I want positivity to be at the forefront, not
Exactly.
I don't want negativity to be the thing that's driving the interaction. It's not healthy in my opinion.
Yeah. So, that brings up a really good thing I wanted to like briefly talk about, right? When Witcher 4's trailer came out, I was really excited. And for anyone who played Witcher 3, you know that the most likely candidate for a main protagonist is a no-brainer. It's Ciri, right? We love Ciri. Right. She's basically almost the de facto main character of Witcher 3. She's the whole plot point. I was excited. I stayed in my little bubble of excitement.
I know where you're going with this, but before The Witcher 4, everyone was hyped and excited, like, oh yeah, I'd love to see Ciri as the main character.
Yeah, exactly, right? And
keep going.
I stayed in my bubble of excitement. I didn't really go into the internet. Well, I spent a couple of days went onto the internet, and I look at the comments, and I'm like, oh my god, CDPR went woke. I'm like, guys, is it the fact that you either didn't play Witcher 3, or you simply hate the fact that there's another gender as the main character? And that's just weird. It's a video game. It's not that deep. Forget like story. Forget. It's not that deep. It really is not that deep.
It's so logical for Ciri to be the main character of Witcher 4, the main protagonist. And I am so excited for it. I'm so here for it. I was just as excited back when I finished Witcher 4, thinking, oh, there's a chance that Ciri is going to be that. I was gung-ho. I will say the trailer brought up a lot of questions where I'm like, wait, hold on. How is she able to use magic? How is she able to take potions? She didn't go through the Witcher training. She didn't go through what happened between The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 4. Like, those are the questions that I think
same here.
People who were invested in the Witcher series and Witcher franchise are bringing up. But I think in order to create that the engagement was to go to the negative route, like to say something controversial. And I think that's a mentality and a avenue of society that really is broken and needs to be changed, and we have to fight it with I'm here for this. I am excited for this just because like this was the logical progression of this story. Like there's no other explanation to it.
And I think a lot of those criticisms regardless of what the criticism is, a lot of those criticisms of that nature are not coming from a logical place, because I can guarantee you this: those same people that make those kinds of comments were not going to buy the game if it didn't have those things, and they weren't going to buy the game if it had those things. They were not your core audience whatsoever. Right. But the minority in this case happens to be the loudest, and that's I stayed away from that because, like I said, when I watched the trailer, that thought wasn't in my head. What I was excited about: how did Ciri take potions? How can she cast Witcher signs? She didn't go through the trials. Did she go through the trials? My biggest theory is that her medallion doesn't look like a Wolf School medallion, so she didn't get it from Geralt. Me and my buddy came up with a theory. I
missed that. I didn't see that.
So her medallion looks different, and it didn't look like any of the other schools. So our theory was, well, what if she, because all the schools basically went out of business, what if she creates her own school, and there's like if you ever played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood before, or any of the Assassin's Creed, think of like the sending assassins out on contracts.
Yeah.
What if like you slowly build up the school and then you send Witchers out on contracts? That's the theory we came up with, and I'm like, based off the medallion, that could be a really cool gameplay mechanic. My thought never went to politics or whatever it was like I'm just excited about Witcher lore. It's people need to just enjoy media. It's entertainment, you
I
know.
I think a lot of people look at gaming um, uh, you and I and a lot of our community members look at gaming as this is an escapism from that political realm,
Hmm.
um, from that side of society that feels negative or feels problematic, right? So we're not looking at gaming as through that lens. We're not seeing it there. But I think there are a lot of people who do
Hmm.
and look to find ways of making comparisons or drawing it back to a means of that negative engagement. I don't know.
And
I don't find that healthy. I don't find that conducive to.
at anything, it's not. It's not. There's no really positive traits to that kind of speech,
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about Witcher 4. There was a bunch of games that were announced that were games I wasn't familiar with. I've been recently getting into a lot of top-down RPGs. Think of Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
I hated games where I had to click to move my character. I didn't like that. I detested those games until I played Baldur's Gate, and then that changed my mind. It was
I
kind of
was the
bad.
exact same.
Mhm.
Exact same.
Keep in mind, I didn't finish Baldur's Gate. I just got to Act 3
I
for the
haven't either.
very, very first time. I'm really excited. My whole thing is I went off the deep end because now I haven't even finished Baldur's Gate, and I'm looking at all these top-down RPG games, and I'm like, I want this, this, and it's looking good. I like branching out into new genres of games because sometimes I feel like I played everything in this genre. I really didn't, but I played everything that I'm interested in. Discover something new, and I see like 50 games in that genre that I never played that I missed out on. Great stories, great characters, amazing gameplay mechanics that I never heard of because they were never at the forefront of whatever discussion we had that year about games. And I love that so much.
Okay, Paige, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 favorite games of all time? I have a follow-up question to this.
I have an easy one, and a lot of them are Ubisoft because my very first video game I ever played ever is Prince of Persia Warrior Within, part of the Sands of Time trilogy. That is my favorite game of all time. That's number 1. Number 2, Assassin's Creed 4. Number 3 might be a little bit of a curveball here, even for me. Let me just double check. Hold up. Red Dead 2 has to be Red Dead Redemption 2.
Great.
Because just to preface that real quickly, I've been writing a cowboy story for almost a decade now. Red Dead 2 is one of those reasons that I've been writing it for almost a decade. I've been writing it before Red Dead 2, but Red Dead 2 has influenced that writing so much. I want to turn it into a film eventually. That's how much it means to me as like the past 8 years of my life almost.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the follow-up question is, what were the 3 most influential games in your life? Are they the same as your top 3 favorite games or not?
Okay, let me think about this. Red Dead 2
so
definitely.
while you're thinking about that, I'll answer the first question for
Yeah.
me. My
Go ahead.
top 3 favorite games of all time were Witcher 3, I think Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice,
Ooh, favorite FromSoft game.
and Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker.
Wow, most people say like Ocarina of Time or something like that. That's interesting.
I didn't play Ocarina of Time until very recently, like earlier this year. Wind Waker is like a nostalgic element to it. Where
What do you think
my
of
younger brother? And
that makes sense.
I loved
What do you think of
I
Ocarina of
absolutely
Time?
loved it. I thought it was really cool. I played. I put a lot of comparisons to modern gaming. I looked through it as the lens of like, this was the first open world RPG. This was the first like game that kind of broke the barriers of what gaming was, and I saw a lot of future in what that game had. It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
March a big dum dum and haven't even played Skyward Sword yet.
I have not played Skyward Sword. I'm going to. Echo, your first game was your first Zelda was Wind Waker. I think that's a great one to play.
Repeat so Witcher 3, Wind Waker, and what was this third one? Sekiro, okay.
Well, and so what are your 3 most influential games of all time?
Red Dead 2 is definitely there.
Okay.
Prince of Persia Warrior Within is definitely there, and I think they're the same. I think Assassin's Creed 4 is there as well.
The same.
Because when I think of those games, I think of what changed after that for me and how I perceive things and how I. It might sound silly, but like some of these games really hit me and the way I think about things. And you'll notice a common theme about those games, and I didn't notice this until recently. Red Dead Redemption Have you played the second one?
Yeah.
The main story is about redeeming oneself even though they feel themselves unredeemable.
Right.
Assassin's Creed 4, a pirate who only cares about money, redeeming himself and becoming a better person. Prince of Persia Warrior Within. Somebody in the first game, he released the Sands of Time. He's hunted by this monster for eternity, and he's trying to change his fate by manipulating time. Come for almost 30-year-old game, but just spoiler alert. It's he comes to he understands that he's been selfish and that's why this demon's chasing him, and he redeems himself and puts the timeline back even though he thinks that's going to kill him, but him putting the timeline back makes him live. So him being not selfish and sacrificing himself in turn saves him. There's a common thread here: redemption.
Yeah.
Becoming a better person even though you think you don't deserve that opportunity. Those games really hit me because I really do believe in that thought process. That is something I really, in my writing, it's very prevalent in my thought, in the way I view life, the way I view news. I think it's very prevalent. I don't. This might be a bit. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I don't think there's anybody that's beyond some sort of redemption.
100% agree.
Whether they can become a completely different person or not, I think everybody has the chance to better whatever they did wrong. Maybe not. I'm not saying fix it or make it not happen.
Some sort of redemption.
Exactly.
Some sort of redemption being the critical element.
Yeah.
To it, yeah.
And I those. Have you played Assassin's Creed 4? I know I keep asking, but have you played that one?
I have not actually.
I don't want to spoil.
That's Brotherhood, right?
No, 4. That's Black Flag. That's the pirate one.
Black Flag. Sorry, Black Flag.
Yeah,
I have not played that one.
I don't want to spoil it for you because I want you to play.
I started it. I started it recently.
It is okay, so I don't want to spoil it for you.
I had to put it down for a second, but
there's
one of those.
There's a line that really hit me, and without context, it's not really a spoiler because you're probably gonna forget about it. Let's be fair, but
probably will.
He goes, "All my life, all I cared about glory, money, and fame, and now I have all of that. And now here, standing by myself, I look to my left and right, and there's no one left that I love standing beside me. He accomplished everything he set out to do, and yet he feels just as empty."
Right.
And it's I don't know, that sentiment really hits. I still haven't figured it out. I'm not gonna lie to you. Probably need to go to therapy. It's a lot of things that I'm trying to figure out about just life and stuff like that I'm just not qualified to figure out, and I'm not ashamed of that, right? So I probably can make sense of those things, but something about these kinds of stories really just hits something within me and gets the brain working, makes me want to be a better person.
So I think it's really cool that your favorite games are also the 3 most influential games for you. So mine are pretty different.
Really?
I do still have, yeah. So my 3 most influential games, I still have The Witcher 3 because it opened my eyes to what a true open world RPG can do. Its ability to tell a story, not only from character dialogue and from your actions as a character, but from the world, right? You could explore anywhere, and you walk into a new town and you'd see claw marks on a building or something, and you go, I wonder if there's going to be a contract for me to take that out. You could have completely missed it, right? The whole world was built. It was so highly immersive.
Crafted with love.
Very much so. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, the first one, the first Hellblade game.
Oh, yes.
Mind-blowing. To me, that was such an influential game in realizing what is such a visually stunning and the way they took on audio and the way they took on overall a very challenging subject of mental health was incredible. And I haven't seen anything else that has done something similar to that. And so that is a gold standard in my mind of go ahead.
Real quickly, when I play a game that scares me, usually it's a jump scare, right? That was one of the first games that really put some sort of anxiety in me that wasn't jump scare related. Just having headphones, I recommend you have to play it with headphones.
You have to.
Just those, and don't play it on stream if you're a streamer. Just experience it with yourself. I feel like that's something you need to sit down with yourself and experience, in my opinion. Because I enjoyed it more off stream. That's just how I guess I operate with those things. But man, when I played it, and those voices kept playing left and right, it puts you in stress. And I'm not saying like, oh, this is exactly how I'd feel if I had this condition, but I'm sure that's the closest I'll probably ever get to feeling that way.
But they did something that was so different from any other game I've experienced. And I was like, wow, this is, that's that's something to look for in games.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third most influential is actually Baldur's Gate 3, because I was so
Okay.
turned away from top down turn based combat,
Mm-hmm.
and I I loved Baldur's Gate 3. I still haven't finished it, partially my own fault of trying to mod the fuck out of it, and then
The
they
breaks.
release an update and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, no, your save file is basically destroyed. That's happened to me 3 times now. I've made it to Act 3 3 times, and I
Mm-hmm.
finally said I'm doing a vanilla playthrough because I cannot let this fail again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those, like, the challenge with it is like, um, we can get into the kind of the next topic with this too, but modern gaming to me
Mm-hmm.
requires 2+ hours in order to play, right? You start the game up, you're kind of like, okay, what was I doing last time? Who was I talking to? Where was
Mm-hmm.
the story at? How do I re-immerse myself into it? And then you spend the next hour and a half doing the first thing, and then you do the next hour and a half trying to clean up the inventory management, or the, getting the next gear, or finishing the dialogue, going
Mm-hmm.
through the cutscenes. Where's the next breaking point? You're like, shit, I got to spend 4 hours to play this game on one sitting. Like, to me, that time doesn't exist anymore unless I'm streaming.
Yeah. I get
It's
that.
and it's exhausting too, because it's like, I just want a game where I can play for 30, 45 minutes and then go to sleep, or whatever it is. Like, that's how limited time I have on my free time. So
I like that Baldur's Gate is one of your influential games because what really hooked me to it, I couldn't get into it at first because the top down element, right? Um, and it was
it was
overwhelming.
very different.
It
It,
was
it was very
overwhelming.
different. I've never played a turn-based combat game. I actually didn't buy Baldur's Gate until a couple months into its release. I rarely watch new games streamed
Same year. I bought
by
it in
friends.
December, the same year that it came out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it took me a long time to buy it. I saw folks like Merudesu playing it, and I mod for Meru, and he had gotten into, like, through Act 1, and I'm like, I think I actually might really like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally was kind of like, I really started watching it and realizing the story to this is really cool. The combat was more like chess than anything, and I was like, that's kind of a
Yeah,
cool.
especially on higher levels. Oof.
That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a, and like the difficulty. And then I realized how many different options are there to make this story change
That's what hooked
from
me. Mm-hmm.
your first. Like, I have played it 4 or 5 times. I don't think I've once had the same path. Like, I've never made the same choices multiple times, because those choices haven't been awarded to me, because I've made one slightly different interaction before another, or one versus the other. And it's like, oh, this whole thing is completely different now.
Yeah.
That to me sold me. I think, honestly, Binge, like, I think that game is probably worth, I'm not even joking, like $200. I
Genuinely.
would, I don't know that I would pay $200 for it, but it
Well,
was way undervalued.
that's
Like,
a whole other
it is the
conversation, right?
gold standard for a game.
That's a whole other conversation because before I'm gonna put that on the shelf real quickly, so I can
Welcome to
just get
88, where
put
we're
that on the
honest.
shelf because if I get into that, it's gonna be a whole other thing. So let me just get this first. Well, Baldur's Gate really hooked me. It was really overwhelming, and I have this thing that really put me off. Almost quit Black Myth Wukong because of this. Because Chapter 3 really almost put me off from the game because of how big it was and how
Yep.
there was no clear path and there was so many diverging paths. I was like, this is getting overwhelming, and I hate missing things. I need to calm down and stop playing for a little bit. I don't know what it is. I just got super overwhelmed. Baldur's Gate is
You're
like
not
the
alone.
ultimate overwhelm game. Right? So I
Yeah.
played Act 1. I didn't get to Act 2 until 3 weeks ago. And I have 150 hours in the game now. I played Act 1 like 10 times because
Yeah.
I keep restarting because I want to keep doing something differently. I must have seen 20 different possibilities of the different dialogue options in quests. Dude, I don't know how they recorded that many dialogue options. You talk to this person before you talk to this person, you hear something. You talk to this person before you talk to this person, there's a slight change. You skip both of them, go do their quest without knowing, come back, they give you a completely different dialogue option, and it's like
Yeah.
it's you skip them in Act 1, you go to Act 3, you meet them in Act 3, and they're like, I wish you were there to help us to do this thing, and you're like,
I
they thought
completely
of
forgot.
this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
It's incredible. Like, you almost think that there is AI embedded within it,
Yeah.
because of how variable it is, but
Mm-hmm.
there's not.
So the one thing I want to talk about though is there were talks about GTA 6 being $150, right? When on release. $2 billion budget. I can confidently say it is the biggest release of any entertainment product in human history. Point blank. Period. Like it's. I don't think if there's anything that has been this hyped before, with this high of a budget. Now, what I want to say is, a lot of people are upset with that. I'm personally not, and I'll explain to you why. For I played Spider-Man 2. I like it. It was only 20 hours. That's it for $70. Red Dead 2 is $60.
Right.
For that pricing to make sense, Spider-Man 2 either has to be $20 or Red Dead 2 has to be $150 because that value is not the same. With
I
yeah, so with GTA
I'm on the same
6,
page. I think that the cost of a game should equate to the well, maybe there's a couple of variables that you play into this, right?
mm-hmm,
One being the challenge of development, right? Like, is this a pixelated game where there's very few graphics and
mm-hmm,
details, um, or is this a hyper realistic Spider-Man, web slinging, flying through the city type graphics, right?
mm-hmm,
Different costs and different lengths. Then I think the next variable is like different amount of playtime, right? You got to have somebody who's playing it, testing it, going, okay, the average time to play this is going to be 20 hours. The average time to play this is going to be 160 hours. Very different, right?
mm-hmm.
You're getting substantially different things, and charging the same price does not feel appropriate to me. I think that if you increase the price beyond $100, you're going to price a lot of people out of the market, though, and you're going to really inhibit your ability to reach a larger demographic.
I agree. That's probably why the pricing isn't that variable. Um, but that's why I'm. But that's why I'm not upset with it being 150 because I know it's gonna have a lot of. If it's GTA 5 is anything to go off of, there's gonna be a lot of playability for years and years to come. So I know that 150 is gonna go a long way. Now, want to bounce off of that and talk about something that I'm personally worried about. We talked about briefly the disappearance of physical media. I love physical media. I mean, the only reason I still own a console is because I love things like this, right? Like I love getting the
Yeah.
Spider-Man bundle, getting the PS5 Spider-Man control. I love these things. And I love having a stack of video game cases, right? I love all this stuff. But with everything going digital, I mean, even video game discs that you buy today don't really play off the disc. The disc is a license key to download from the store, so it's the same as just downloading it from the store at that point. What really is upsetting is the push of live service. I don't know how you feel about that, but to me, I don't like it for one reason. It removes the ability to preserve games should they change too much with updates, because you can't preserve something that's constantly live on whatever server it's coming from. Number two, should that server shut down one day because it has to,
Right.
even if it's a single player game, it's done. That's it.
It's gone.
And I don't like that. Assassin's Creed has started doing that, and that hurts because, like I said, Prince of Persia, Ubisoft game, favorite game of all time. They dropped the franchise to make Assassin's Creed, so naturally I got into Assassin's Creed. So it's also a big part of my childhood because of that reason. It sucks seeing the way it's going right now because now that's the business model, live service, because we want to keep updating the market so you can buy more cosmetics in the single player game. Oh, next year we're shutting down the market, so therefore you can't play the game anymore. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I find there is a horizon on them, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the game does get to the point where it's so out of date, like early Halo games, right? Where
Or
there's
Witcher
no
1.
right, there's nobody's on it, right? It's you and your friend who's like, yeah, I'll log on today. The two of you are in a lobby together. Like, is it financially responsible for the company to continue to keep those servers active and live?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. But that's a multiplayer game, right? That's one example.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on the single player game. It should be a self-contained entity that I could boot up. You can boot up your N64 and play GoldenEye today if you wanted, right? You could do that.
Oh,
I think that should be. We should move away from that.
New EU laws, Tier said, actually make this illegal in the EU. They can't do that anymore. They need to keep the servers up or at least make it playable forever.
I love that. I
I
think
love that.
that's a
That should be the
good
case.
regulation. And the other part of it too, though, Binge, is like, we're buying licenses to these games. We're not actually buying the
Yeah.
game. That is the biggest, you know, switcheroo that I've ever experienced. Like, I always thought I was buying the game. I had access to this game. Like, this copy was mine. No, I've only been buying a license to utilize it.
And a
It could be taken
license
away from
runs
me
out.
if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, littlest example. So GTA San Andreas went through a lot of. GTA is my favorite franchise, but it's the thing that like really got me into video game research. Just as an FYI, that's why I keep bringing it up. But San Andreas had a many different versions, not like an ultimate or anything, but with every platform it came out on, the source code changed a lot. So the PS2 is widely considered to be the premier, original, best version of the game. It had a bunch of Michael Jackson tapes on the radio. Those licenses ran out when the game was released on PC.
Right.
People wanted that vibe of the early 90s, right? Where GTA San Andreas is set, people wanted that vibe of the haze that PS2 had on it due to the graphical limitations. So, due to game preservation and emulation, and since those games were actually on the disc, they were able to preserve that copy, and now you can play it on PC instead of downloading the Steam version that doesn't work, right? But you can't. That's what I'm afraid of missing. Can't preserve
Yeah.
those games anymore. And if an update comes out and bricks something, then it's bricked forever because you don't have access to the previous file. It is, and again, at the end of the day, I gotta check myself. They are video games. Obviously, there's more that I'm gonna do in life than I'm not gonna like hyper fixate on this thing. I used to have a problem with like doing that. Like it's really not that deep, but I'm like, oh my god, this ruined my whole day. How dare they? You
Right.
know. So it's not that deep, but it is a bad business model, and I think that we can prevent it from happening. Should we talk about it more often?
Maybe like kind of like we were getting to
Mm-hmm.
though. At some point,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's You got to let the game
Just
have
die.
its it's got to go to it's got to go to its resting place, right?
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. Like, look at like Call of Duty 3, right? I doubt there's people on those servers. Like,
Yeah.
they're now utilizing those resources
Mm-hmm.
to support Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Like, they can't keep putting resources into those outdated
Mm-hmm.
games, even though that was like 4 years ago, right? 3 or 4 years ago. They just can't keep putting the resources into those games,
Mm-hmm.
um, and continue to support them. Now they're producing better and newer, um, which is another argument in and of itself. But I think that it's, again, at the end of the day, it is a business. They have to realize what they're putting out. And I think this is a very different conversation between a multiplayer game and an online story game, right? You should be able
Exactly.
to play that story game indefinitely.
Yeah.
You should not be forced to connect online.
Yeah. My whole thing is I'm more worried about the single player games because my multiplayer. I don't think
Right.
there's a single multiplayer game. I love my multiplayer games, but I don't think there's one that I
Like,
view as dearly as my favorite three games. You know what I mean?
Red Dead 2 has an online mode, right?
No, it doesn't. No.
I thought
No, we
I
don't.
thought it did.
No, we don't talk about that.
Okay.
No, no, it
For the
does.
sake of
It
this
doesn't.
conversation, it technically does have an
Yes.
online mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if that online mode was tied to the story, right? If they stopped the online, does the story then die too?
Yeah. See.
Could you, I mean, like, that's an incredible story game that would be
Mm-hmm.
amazing to revisit and relive and re-experience or try a different way. But if they said, hey, we're not supporting those servers, it's been 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
we're sorry, you lose that whole experience. You can't share that experience with future generations.
Exactly, also I think this might be just a me thing, but when I like my like let's Red Dead for example, there's an online and there's a campaign. I like those to be separate. I don't like I even if I could still play the campaign without connecting to online, I don't want those elements to intermix. There should be
Yeah,
two different worlds in my head at least, because it just makes it more self-contained, nice neat package.
right.
That's
The
just
Elden
funny.
Ring is a perfect example where you have people putting messages on the ground. I turned those off because I
Yes.
felt like it broke my immersion into
Mm-hmm.
this incredible world. I didn't like that. I
Did
think
you
other
beat
people
Elden
are
Ring?
like, okay, I did. I beat it before. I'm playing through it again,
Shadow of the
and
Archery?
I'm getting to that.
Oh,
That's my current Souls game fixation.
I'm gonna watch that because I want to see if I the final boss. Have you gotten that spoiled for you or no?
I know who it is. Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna. I am so sorry. I am so sorry for
I'm
you.
trying to figure out what my build is going to be through
It doesn't matter,
either.
man.
Yeah, I know he's going to kick my ass.
He's so
That's going to be a
mean.
fun one.
And you know what? They buffed him ever since the release.
Of course they did. They buffed him
So
in the original game, and they probably buffed it. I'm sure they buffed him in this one.
yeah, it's. I'm so sorry. You might have to do another samurai routine.
I probably will. I probably will.
um, I only figured this out because of your going back to that your hype train animations. You like anime? I saw JJK and I became a fan. Tell me about it. Tell me some animes you watch. I want to
Okay,
know.
so I just got through. I use Crunchyroll as my portal to anime.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got through everything that was available for My Hero Academia. I finished everything that was available for
Mm-hmm.
Attack on Titan, Berserk. So those
Oh
three
my god, man
I
after my
know
own heart. Oh.
those three are the three that I've completely finished of what is available to me.
Mm-hmm.
I just started JJK. I'm like 7 episodes in. And I was on a plane watching it. And I had nothing else downloaded. I was like, man, this is a little slow right now. But it's gotten to that point where it's like, oh, I see why people like this. It is like starting to snowball into
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna really enjoy. I love the high emotion, high action, full on
Mm-hmm.
engagement. Like that's what captivates. Like I honestly think My Hero Academia might be one of my all-time favorite anime at this point. And
I
I
just
haven't watched a whole lot.
want to let you know. Just I'm not gonna spoil anything, obviously, for you. I do read a lot of mangas for animes I really enjoy. So as you know, My Hero ended,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm caught up. I read it. I feel like popular animes have a problem with their endings.
Yeah.
I feel like no matter how good of a run it has, it always fumbles one thing. It's guaranteed to fumble one thing, and that's the ending. And yes, conclusions are usually bittersweet for a lot of people. But man, I there's never I don't know how to even say this. The My Hero ending was just people make memes about, oh, this ending is gonna be bad. It's gonna say this, right? Imagine that's the actual ending. The memes we were making turned out to be what the writer did. It was so I was in disbelief flipping through it. So just saying, enjoy what you have right now because once season 8 comes out, I don't know what that's gonna look like.
Oh,
It
no.
may very well change because with enough scrutiny, I think he might rewrite. But
Yeah.
it was
Hopefully.
it was good. It was not good. It was not good. What's your all-time favorite anime though?
I think right now it's got to be My Hero Academia.
Really? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Up to what I've seen, right? Like
Yeah. What
up to
season
what's
are
been
you on?
released. I just finished 6. I think that's what's available on Crunchyroll, or
Season
maybe
6.
7's out.
I think 7's out, but season 6 was. I love that. That was solid.
Yeah.
They really. I got kind of shocked because My Hero's like kind of lighthearted all the way through, and then season 6 comes and it's like, what's going on? What?
Yeah,
Why?
it definitely. Oh, and I don't want to like talk about like what's happening because I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what people have seen. But like in the later seasons, the motion they started to put into the characters was like I was on the plane like crying through a couple of those episodes. Like, no, I'm good. What are you talking about? Like, it was
And
good. It was really good, really powerful. I've also watched animes like have you ever watched Doro Hedoro?
no,
It
I
was
have
on
not.
Netflix. It was really weird. Like sometimes I like those really weird, strange animes.
Mm-hmm.
Parasite is another really good one that
Parasite is
was really
good.
strange.
Parasite's
It
good.
was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good. I haven't finished it yet, but that's a good one. I got to get through that one too.
Mm-hmm. I think the world of anime is definitely interesting. How'd you get into anime? Was it recent?
It was Attack on Titan. No, this was back in 2017, 2018. I was
Mm-hmm.
watching Attack on Titan with my buddy from college, and kind of just like sparked it. And I was like, oh, there's this whole world I don't know about. And so I kind of started dabbled into it. And through streaming, people have said, oh, you got to watch this, you got to watch that. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute.
Oh yeah,
So I've
the
got
moment you say you're an anime fan or anime fans, you're done.
you're done. You're
Yeah.
done. Like Bleach is on my list. Full Metal Alchemist is on my list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working through Jujutsu Kaisen. I've watched parts of One Piece. Like I like that one, but it's so long. I don't have the time to be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate to this. And then like I also grew up watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid, and was like, I really like that one too. And I kind of like revisit it from time to
Mm-hmm.
time and seeing where it goes.
So let me go into this real quickly. I want to say I started anime in high school, but I really didn't. My favorite thing in the entire world, not just anime or show, just my favorite thing is One Piece. I started watching when I was 5 years old. I am 23. Just wanna. I've been reading it, watching it weekly since 5 years of age. It's been a while. It's been, I think, what, 18 years. Yeah, and I didn't consider it an anime because I didn't even know what anime was. I just
You thought it was a cartoon back then?
it was cool, and I watched it, and then I really got into anime in high school with Naruto and all those other stuff. I will never shame anybody for like not wanting to watch One Piece. That is I wouldn't have done it. I watched it when it was only at 100 episodes. I will say it's better read than watched because Toei was doing Dragon Ball Z at the time, so all their effort was going there. And now they're doing Dragon Ball Super. That's not as successful. So only in recent times, all their effort is going to One Piece. And I'm like, well, too little, too late. It's been 25 years, but that's what it is. But
welcome back. Thank you.
I have so much. Like here, my favorite character of all time in media in general is this guy right here. Let me see if you can name him. I'm sure. Come on, green swordsman.
Sword guy from the. It's not Zoro.
It is Zoro. It is.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. You should have.
I couldn't remember what his name was from the anime.
Actually, let me show you this because I know my girl is watching. So she does a lot of arts and crafts, and she made me this cool little thing. It's a embroidery
awesome.
of Zoro. I think she hand drew this, like hand traced it, and then it's pretty cool.
That's really, really
so
cool.
I have a lot of stuff. I don't really have a lot of anime memorabilia in general, but if it's One Piece,
yeah,
I gotta get it. But no, do you have anything like that you've kept up with for that long? Because here's what I think about, right? One Piece has to end at some point. When it ends, I don't know how I'll feel because I haven't really kept up with anything like that in my life with that consistency. For it to end, I don't know how I'm gonna feel. So I wonder if maybe there's something like that you can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, like finishing The Witcher, playing all the way through The Witcher 3. When I finished it, I felt this void of like
emptiness.
Okay, well, what's next? Like, how do I go? Echo brings up a good point that it's got a well balance of story and intense moments. Like that's definitely one of those things that I think anime brings to the table that I don't see in a lot of other shows. I think because they build this you have to start from episode 1 and you can't skip, right? With caveats, Dragon Ball Z, there's certain filler episodes, or I'm sure One Piece has some filler episodes and that sort of stuff. But like for the most part, you got to kind of watch from beginning to end to stay part of it. But they intermingle this character development episode with this. Okay, this is why this is such an intense battle for them, and why this is so meaningful and what they're trying to accomplish. I think it tells a story better than a lot of live action shows.
I'm trying. There it is. Okay, Witcher 3. I want to talk about this. Do you think we can talk about maybe like the ending scene of Blood and Wine, or do you think that would be like too spoilery for people?
In The Witcher 3?
Yeah, Blood and Wine.
Yeah, I think we can. I think it's been out for a while. I always like to say, hey, it's been out for 10 years. That's the statute of limitations. We can talk about it now.
When I beat Witcher 3, I got the ending where Ciri gets her sword and goes off. Bittersweet. I liked it. When I did Blood and Wine, that took me 250 hours. All the Gwent cards, everything, right?
Yep.
And then I get the ending where Geralt sits. He has a conversation with the I forgot his name already. The vampire. The
Um,
oh my god, whatever his name is. I he has a
Starts with an
conversation with him.
R, right?
Some I cannot for the life of me remember it. You might have to look it up. All right, we'll have to wave till to Tier when he
Yeah.
yeah when we're done.
What was his name?
It's
Not
fine.
Detlef.
That laugh.
No, it wasn't Detlef. Regis.
Regis, there you go.
Yep.
So look at joke with the fast hands. Immediately typed it down. Full middle glass everything. But no, what he said, did you ever want to be a Witcher? And he says, I never really have it. Like, would you ever pick to be a Witcher? He's like, I never really had a choice. And they have like this really deep conversation about, I would have picked a profession that would have gave me some respect, even if I had less money. And, you know, you really get to see a vulnerable side of Geralt. But then he gets asked, do you want to move on? And Geralt says, I want to sit here a while. You and me have been through a lot. And then he looks directly at the camera, and I'm like, oh, he's talking to me. Oh no, don't do this. And then it cuts to black. I'm like, and I just sit there while the credits roll, and I'm like, what do I do with my life?
That's where I felt too. Like I got to that point, I was like, you're right. We have been through a lot. We traveled through the entirety of Skellige, entirety of Novigrad. We traveled through this fairy tale land that was only a figment of my imagination at one point. And like the stories that unfolded, the experiences we
the
had,
Baron quest line, the civil war going on, all of that
greatest
stuff.
storyline of all time. Like Baron is actually my favorite character ever created. He was a horrible person. Yeah, he's a horrible person. But I think his storyline was written so well. The dichotomy of who he was as both a person and a villain, the intricacy of the human condition being part of him was better written than anywhere I have ever seen in any video game.
A
Hands
side
down.
quest. It's
As
a side quest. And there's so many layers to it because yes, he is objectively a horrible person, but
Right.
I feel bad for him, and I feel bad for his family, and I can't. I felt so horrible. I was like, "Am I a bad person?"
But the thing is, you could sense that he had remorse. You could sense that he was trying to become a better person. He was trying to. I don't know what quest line or what decisions you make, but he was trying to redeem himself. And I think that's probably why you also resonated with him as a character.
Yeah, I'm
His
waving
redemption
for
arc.
Tier, by the way. That's why I waved.
Oh.
That's the thing about Witcher, though. Like, if you want to sum up Witcher, sum it up with the line in the trailer: "Evil is evil. Lesser, middling, greater. There's makes no difference. The degree is the contrary. The division's blurred. If I'm to choose between one evil and another, I'd rather not choose at all. But the irony is, he always has to make a decision. That's just how life is."
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I love that.
Again, still, I think it's one of the greatest story games of all time. Writing a truly terrible character and giving them a good and realistic redemption arc is so great. And and I think that was so powerfully done for the Baron Echo. Like, it's so good.
Well, Marsh, aren't you gonna have dinner?
It's waiting for me. I'm
all
getting
right.
ready
Well,
to go grab some dinner.
this is I think we've exhausted our options. We're at the 2.5 hour mark. I'd say we did good.
That was great.
And hey, listen, you thought you were wondering how well you would do. I'd say you did amazingly, my friend. You blew it out of the water. I'm not even trying to say this for the show. I mean this sincerely.
This was a lot of fun. I love this. The back and forth conversation about how you're building your community, how I've built mine. The strategies that I've employed, the trying to tackle the time management between our crazy schedules and what it meant to start a community founded on elephants, and then getting into the kind of the final bits of what is gaming like today, and what is the kind of the crux of our channels as they are today. That was a
Everybody,
lot of fun.
yeah, everybody has a tale, and regardless of how uneventful someone may think their life is, or how eventful they may think it is, it's not really until somebody asks you to put it into words that you really realize I've done a lot, and that's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to have. So that's why I enjoy these conversations. That's why I enjoy Talk with
Yeah.
Leads. It's I love having conversations with depths, and I can learn. I'm learning a lot, and a lot of people don't have the opportunity to have that depth, and this is a really good discourse. But Marsh, tell self promo time. Tell everybody on YouTube and on Twitch, where can they find you? Where do you do your things? Tell them what times you stream, what days you stream, what are your
Sure.
plans if you have anything big coming up in the future as well.
So my name is Marshmelephant. You can find me on Twitch mostly. I do have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, although that might not exist for much longer for us. But I stream 4 days a week, or I have streamed 4 days a week: Sunday, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I traditionally play RPG games on Sundays and Mondays, and then Souls games Wednesday, Thursdays. I stream 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time until I gotta go to bed. I've just been on about a month break. I had taken a 3-week hiatus just as a detox, as time to step away, but it is unfortunately snowballed into a 4-week and potentially 5-week, with Christmas being next week. So look out for me early next year. I've got some pretty big plans for the community. Some cool stuff coming up. We've got our affiliate anniversary coming up in January, or in February, which is, I do a combination affiliate anniversary and my birthday. So usually there's quite a few games up for grabs, and some little knickknacks here and there that are elephant themed, and it's a pretty good time.
Perfect. I'll make sure he sends me all those links so he can put them in the description. For my YouTube audience, this is where the video ends. Last episode of the year, and I'm honored to have March be the closing chapter of a new series in a new year.
It's been a blast. Thank you for having me.
You guys have a great day over on YouTube land.